Hi everyone, welcome. I'm down here in my wormery, and normally I don't pay much attention to trying to protect my beautiful pink tablecloth here. But what I plan to put out here in front of you is a little bit moist and damp, and you might already be guessing what it is. I bought it in from outside a short while ago. It's none other than the Outdoor Worm Bag version 4.0. We've been hinting at it for some time now that it might be time to give it a break from the winter weather that's making its way into my region. And starting tonight, we've got a number of days, 4 days in a row, where the temperatures are going to remain below freezing. So I wanted to give these little guys a break, and I figured it was time to let the outdoor aspect of this system to come to an end. So I bought it in earlier, and it was raining all night, so the thing is soaking wet. And let's see here. Yeah, there's a lot of moisture here all over the place. So I'm just gonna peel off some of these top coverings. Let's see what we got here. I'm trying to do so without leaving a bunch of wormies stranded. So here's one little wormy stuck on this piece of cardboard. And then we've got a couple more wormies hanging out on this piece of cardboard. So I bought this thing in, I don't know, earlier in the morning. It was still quite warm out, and I believe by sunset it's going to be about 10 degrees below freezing. So the temperature is basically plummeting from being actually quite mild overnight to going to be downright freezing into the evening. So here we are, and usually we're checking out this system in daylight. So this is probably the first time we're indoors with this bag. In the past, I'd always used my abandoned stairwell that used to be the way you would get to the upstairs apartment. I mean, originally when my house was a single family home, the stairwell was just inside the house. And then eventually the building got converted into a two-family structure. And for a while the stairwell that was the way to get upstairs was continued to use that way. And then later on another stairwell was built outside, and the old stairwell that was indoors just sort of became obsolete. So it's still accessible from my backyard, and that was where we'd placed this bag in the past to protect it from very cold weather. But I figured for a little change of pace I would just bring these guys indoors, and I suppose my one area of concern with this was that hopefully there's no critters coming indoors with this little collection of fun over here, you know? I mean, it was outdoors for the past, let's see, it's been 18 days since we checked in on it on its 250th day in service. So this thing's been in service for 268 days. Never really protected from anything that might want to come and make itself at home in here. I did actually think about possibly encapsulating it within a grow inside of a leaf bag to sort of, I guess, constrain or contain anything that might decide that it wants to come crawling out of this thing. So I don't know, I might take some protective measures like that just to make sure I don't end up getting some sort of weird little creatures that came along for the ride. So we're now down into the feeding area. I think it was pumpkin. We gave them pumpkin last couple times, and I thought I just saw, where was it? There was a little melon. What am I'm losing it. I just saw it a moment ago. There was a little melon that I put in here, a melon from my garden that just sort of grew as a volunteer plant in my garden, and I figured let's feed it to these wormies. I don't know. I should have paid closer attention. Perhaps I just piled it up somewhere out here on the edge someplace. I'll tell you, there's a lot of moisture in here. It's been raining, like it rained all night. I think it was raining last night, part of the day yesterday too, so it's the reason I wanted to protect the table from any moisture that might come seeping out of this system. It's the reason I put the board down, and it's probably a good idea that I did. I'm sure once we pull this thing off, it's going to be a big wet spot underneath the bag. This is much more damp than any of the systems that I normally manage indoors here. So let's just explore a little bit, and then we're going to give them their food. All I really got for them is a few days worth of coffee. My main focus in the past few days has just been checking in on a few of my foraging bins. So I've had no opportunities to use up any of my stored kitchen scraps or stuff that I want to compost. So I'm catching up on some used coffee that needs to be done away with. So unusual that I can't find a pretty good size melon that was in here. Unless is this it here? Could I have squashed it in the process of just setting it aside? I'm sure when I'm watching the video it'll be crystal clear what the heck I did with the poor thing. And it does seem like that could be it, just from the look of it. I don't know. It's not all that important. It's just that sometimes I get my little mind focused on something and can't seem to let it go. It's very tempting to just put some dry bedding in here. Something to help sop up some of this moisture. Not that the worms care. I mean, the worms probably love the fact that there's all this moisture in here. They were probably thinking, yeah, let the rain fall, let it keep falling. But I'm sure when the cold started setting in, they were probably like, no, let the rain fall, but don't let it turn to snow. And don't freeze us in here. I guess that's what worried me. Last year I remember coming into this thing and finding that the whole thing had kind of frozen over on top, and I had to sort of break my way down into the center of the system, which was still not frozen, and all the worms were kind of huddled up in the middle. And I don't know, it just seems like if I had waited a little bit longer, the whole thing could have just locked up into a big ice cube and killed off the entire population. I just figured, you know, if we keep these little guys warm and comfortable, they're just going to keep on working for us and breaking stuff down. So, you know, it's not very interesting just to have a system sitting out in the cold, pretty much going dormant all winter. There was one time in the very beginning when I was just more trying to satisfy my curiosity to see if they would even survive, when I did my first overwinter outdoor system, and then that sort of just transformed into my outdoor worm bag. And I think I've decided that it's not going to become an overwinter process anymore. Next spring I'll probably just start up a fresh outdoor worm bag version 5.0 and then we'll get these little guys back into business. These worms in here, you know, they'll probably, I don't know, just wondering if it might make good sense to not even give this system some food, just give this system no food for a while. Perhaps just let it forage and let it go for a couple months, so that, you know, come springtime this bag can be used again and returned outside and set up fresh, instead of you know, springtime rolling around and then me having to scramble to get this container prepped and ready. It might make good sense to just let this system, you know, just let it run on its own, because it's got so much stuff in it, so much bedding. I've been very generous with the bedding lately. So, alright, a lot of chit chat here. I've got not only coffee to do away with, but I've got a couple soiled napkins. So I'm going to give them these as the foundation to drop the coffee into. And you know, I've also got the coffee filters here. You know, just drop it in. Why would you need to arrange coffee? Let's even give them the coffee filters, right? Just kind of mixing it in, blending it in with the neighboring materials. All bite-sized food for these little guys to get right down into. If they feel the warmth and they want to enjoy it, they can even kind of bask in that for a little while. That's their feeding. Now I guess as we go to cover up, I can see if I can try to find that little melon that I moved off to the side. It might have just been that one that we saw earlier. This could be it right here. It's just that for the longest time it was holding out so good without even being infiltrated by worms, until a couple check-ins ago when I accidentally punctured the rind of it, or the skin of it, whatever, with my finger, and then that was the beginning of the end for that little piece of food. There's all kinds of stuff in here. These are corn cobs I'm bumping into. There's a number of them I've encountered here and there. This is another one, I believe. There's even some pumpkin here, I believe. At least the skin of some pumpkin. That's probably the remnants of the last feeding. This piece of pumpkin even looks like it has some of the yummy fruit remaining on there. So, I don't know. I'm just looking for some feedback, I guess. I want to hear what people think. Is this maybe the last feeding that I should give it, so that perhaps by springtime they will have made their way through all of these leftover scraps of food and bedding, and then we could really just harvest their castings and get this bag reset for outdoor worm bag 5.0? Or does it make sense to come back in here a few more times, maybe give them a little feeding here and there? Something tells me I'm not going to be able to resist the urge to check in and see how they're doing, and use them as another means to do away with my kitchen scraps. It's just such a big system, you know. I'm just not accustomed to having something this large up on my bench up here. And something so big. Yeah, I've definitely tilled up the entire thing, and it seems like we've kind of increased its overall volume by doing so. So, yeah, things look pretty cool. I think it'll probably be a good idea to periodically come in here and just do that. Give the whole thing a nice little stir, and maybe just drop in a little food here and there for them. I mean, all this bedding's going to need time to get broken down, all these leaves, all this stuff, so I can certainly see us coming back in here a number of times. Heck, it's just the beginning of winter, right? We got quite some time before springtime rolls around, so alright, let's bring back the coverings and set these little guys aside. I'm very tempted to cover up, not only cover up, but encapsulate the bag inside of, I don't know, maybe inside of not a grow bag, I keep thinking grow bag, but a leaf bag. I'm just wondering, are the leaf bags big enough that I'd be able to fit this inside of it? I don't know. I might have to do a little experimentation, but it'll be much easier when this thing's had a little time to dry off. So I'll be setting this off on the side, and in time the whole thing will dry and become a little bit more manageable, and then we'll be able to decide exactly what to do with it going forward. Alright everyone, that's it for today's check-in with our no longer outdoor worm bag. It's now been introduced into the indoor wormery with the rest of the gang. And I think we will continue. I don't know. We'll decide as time goes on. Alright everyone, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. All right, everyone, have a great day. Bye now.